Right, assigned mail. This is gonna be fun. So before I start this, I just want to show you this really cool fan art made by Mazi Pandarica that I am using for this video. And I do have a vidme just in case, because if one day you wake up and my channel's not here since the purge has begun on YouTube, then you know where to go, so it's purely just for backup. You don't have to worry about any of the stuff there, and it will get to a point eventually where I will end up uploading there first, just because if shit goes worse, so just so you know. And Mazi has a channel on there as well, so if you like this style as much as I do and you think this is as adorable as I do, then you should go and check it out, link in the description. So, where were we? For those of you who don't know, let's go through a rundown of them. The comic started in 2014 and is still ongoing, unfortunately, made by someone called Sophie LaBelle. She also shills her Patreon on a regular basis, saying that it's for supporting trans people. Basically, if you're feeling guilty because you've been convinced you have privilege, this chick is here to tell you that you can absolve your sins by donating to her. She's also trans, and when we dig into the characters later, you'll see how much of Mary Sue we have here. Now aside from that, let's look at the comics themselves. First, I want to give credit to the Bad Comic Wiki for a lot of this shit, because I would not have gotten through any of this and understood any of this as much. I'm going through all of this before going into the comics, so if you want more detail, please go there, link in the description. First off, the main character is a boy called Steven, who claims that he is trans because he dresses as a girl and calls himself Steffi. This is a delight to people who are actually dealing with gender dysphoria and transitioning, I am sure. Despite being the age of 11, Steffi talks like someone you might hear teaching the social justice courses in school or preaching it on YouTube. Also sounds a lot older than 11. Basically, if Francesca Ramsey looked like an 11-year-old boy, instead of looking like a mop with a face. Steffi's parents and pretty much anyone around her who is portrayed as a good person is like a sad puppy that follows her around helplessly while she tries to make them as enlightened as her. So basically, you're a good person if you just completely bend to the will of the person who is more oppressed than you. And while you're fumbling around trying to make mistakes because you're not as perfect as her, she'll just sigh at you sadly and go, "Oh no, those pitiful humans." Her friends all happen to have some sort of problem where they either have some sort of gender crisis or something to make them more oppressed and special snowflake like her. And if they're not, then they're just the perfect allies who completely understand everything after going through a number of clumsy and very poorly worded questionnaires with her about why she is so special. Any other person who doesn't have these problems is either a cis-sexist, I think you can figure out why that's a word, because we're in hell, or they will learn to be a part of the weird lost puppy harem that she's been collecting. So the plot starts with Steffi being rushed to the hospital because of some sickness like a sore throat or something, and getting triggered because God forbid doctors have to know what gender you are biologically so they can help you. Steffi then gets mad at her mum for explaining to the doctor the discrepancy between the biological gender and what Steffi actually feels. Seriously, Steffi gets mad at someone who is trying to help her by explaining to other people what is going on so they can help her too. Then this leads to them running out of the hospital, and everything that just happened is null and void, so I suppose she's magically not sick anymore, because it's one big continuity error. She magically acquires a black friend later, and her father is a walking straw man that is okay to hate because he's a man and isn't a feminist. At one point he joins a men's rights group, and that's seen as a bad thing, because apparently male suicide rates, the feminization of healthcare, men's domestic violence and rape not being addressed, and every time someone makes a shelter or something then they get shut down and harassed. Men's rights groups can barely get running because of the harassment from feminists. The campaign to get the red pill banned because it just revealed things that people disagree with. I'm assuming all of those things don't exist in that universe to make men's rights a bad thing. Anyway, who am I to judge? So the plot is basically Steffi going around and being right and perfect and special, but also being a victim because we need those victim bucks. It's basically the same thing you'd expect about feminists saying that women are so strong and beautiful and brave, but that at the same time they need everyone to do everything for them because they're so weak that they get triggered at memes and stuff. It's the I can do anything I want, but only when you get those words from the internet out of my face because mean comments make me cry. That's pretty much the entire comic. Now let's get into the good stuff. Turn back now if you don't want cancer, but who am I kidding, it's already inside you. But I was wondering, are you going to have, like, surgery? Cis people. What do you mean, cis people? Is being cis bad? I'm not even sure what being cis means, But you shouldn't paint us all with the same brush. Wouldn't that be like reverse transphobia? I don't think that's how you people get support. You see, I don't exactly want people's support. All I want is people to have basic human decency. And comparing a cis guilt to systematic violence against trans people lacks a lot of it. Got it. Okay, where do we even start with this one? So she basically says she doesn't want people's support, yet when you look at the Patreon shilling and all of the rest of the stuff, she clearly does. People kind of catch on that she's not going to get support if she's acting like a spoiled little twat, so instead of trying to phrase it as wanting support, she basically rephrases it to human decency as a very vague term to kind of get around that. And as an amateur writer myself, it's just appalling to see the character development here. This guy is basically just bringing up these pretty good points, and in some of the later text he words it a bit weirdly, sure, but at the beginning it's a pretty understandable thing. If somebody goes up to you and points out your gender or your race and goes, ugh, white people, ugh, black people, you'd probably be like, what is your problem with me? I didn't do anything to you. But then he just completely gets this turnaround, like, well, this oppressed person said this thing to me, so I should automatically agree with them, because that's basically how everything is resolved here. And when you're talking about violence, systemic violence, there is absolutely no proof here. You're going to see that a lot as well. There is no proof. There is no effort to try and give people research. You're just expected to accept it and believe it or be a bigot. Like, you are the bad person in these comics because you're not believing everything I say completely off of face value. And he's got like that Minecraft kind of beanie thing, and if that's what it is, then I like the subtle jab at gamers here. Never forget Gamergate, huh? So here's another one. So what am I again? A cisgender boy. Yeah, that. What does that mean again? It means that you identify as the gender you were assigned at birth. Okay, so biology doesn't exist. I'm not even gonna bother with that. Well, I don't identify as a boy, I mean, I'm just normal, right? You think you're normal because cis folk rarely have to question the choice that was made for them at birth. Gender identity feels irrelevant when everyone validates your gender. It's called cis privilege. It's not real privilege if it doesn't make me win at Mario Kart. 1. That joke at the end wasn't funny. Try again. 2. People don't necessarily use the word normal to describe something that everyone should be. They're just using the word normal because of the norm. It's something that's common, something that you would expect. Being trans is not normal because if it was normal, everyone would just be trans. The majority of people would be trans. Just like how the majority of people are happy with their gender because gender is a thing. It's not something that you can just mold to what you want. There is biological evidence behind this. And being not normal doesn't mean being bad. It's just like having depression isn't something that is just the norm. That's why it's considered something that is different from just being sad every now and again. It's why people have medication for it. It's not normal. It doesn't make the people who have depression bad people, just like the people who have gender dysphoria aren't bad people. It's just out of the norm. If it was, everyone would have gender dysphoria, and everyone would probably want to transition as well if it was the norm to have that thing. And it allows us to see this thing that is making someone unhappy or afflicting someone in some way and treat it. That's why some people transition, because they feel like it would make them feel a bit better and combat it a bit better because of the thing that they're doing. If we just treated it as normal, we'd basically just be ignoring the gender dysphoria. It's like seeing someone with depression and going, I don't need to help them because I don't want to treat it like normal is bad or something. Because me saying it's outside of the norm is discriminatory, so I just have to leave it. And we all know that this person here just wants the special privileges that come with being oppressed. You get all these people trying to support you financially regardless of what you're doing. You get all these people willing to censor other people for you. You get this big mob. Victimhood is a commodity in the social justice circle. Everyone knows this, so we all know that you don't want it to be normal either. You want it to be abnormal. You want people to come at you and be angry at you so that you can cry for more money. Anita Sarkeesian is a massive example of this. Okay, moving on. Oh, look at that guy. He's so cute. I don't think you'd want to date him. Why? He's trans. He's had surgeries to look like a man. Hey guys, what's up? Sorry, we're not into girls. Transphobia is everywhere. We can't be transphobic because we're gay. Why are trans people always so aggressive? Okay, so this is basically the straw man of I have dating preferences kind of thing. You probably heard the whole thing like, you don't date black people, then you're racist. If you don't date fat people, then you're fatphobic. If you don't do this, you're this. You know, that kind of thing. I just love how it's gone from allowing people to love each other regardless of their gender and LGBT rights and everything to now you can't choose because you have to force yourself to do what we say. They've basically just gone full circle, they've gone backwards, and it's just really funny and terrifying at the same time. Honestly, this is, I don't know, it's difficult to word, but here we go. Sex is a really big thing for, I guess, the majority of relationships. I mean, you do have people like Stephen Fry who doesn't like sex. The only thing that comes close for him is mutual masturbation with the person he's in a relationship with. But for the vast majority of people, sex is important. So if someone that you're with doesn't have, I guess, the correct parts, because maybe they haven't fully transitioned or anything like that, it is understandable to maybe not want to be in a relationship with them. The way that you're physically compatible with someone is hugely important. That's one of the reasons why I don't agree with only sex after marriage. You have to know if you're physically compatible as well as compatible in any other way with someone before you go into a big commitment like that. I mean, you see a lot of people who their relationships end because they're just not physically compatible. Or maybe they're just not into the same things. There's this big thing that's going on there. So it's perfectly okay to do that. And the way these guys are reacting, they are being douchebags. They are just being assholes, I guess, and it is a straw man because when people talk about preferences, they're not talking like this. You know, it's in the same way that someone likes black hair or someone likes brown hair, or some people are just in 2 different skin colors. It's completely fine, it's your preference. It does not mean that you hate these people. I don't get what's wrong with having a preference. That's just basically what it is. However, if you ask these people about their preferences, say with guys for instance, like if you see a woman who's all about fat empowerment and all this sort of stuff, people shouldn't have standards in regards to women and women should just not shave or anything like that. You ask them what they want in a guy and they'll talk about basically James Bond. Like he has to be really hot and he has to be rich and he has to do all of these things. But apparently he's not allowed to have standards because he's supposed to date people like her. That's basically what this shit is. It's just annoying. Next. The only diagnosis I'll recognize is gender euphoria. What the fuck do I even say to this? I think the correct term is bring on the nukes. What the fuck am I looking at? Did white people 80s drugs come back? Is this what it looks like when you take all the drugs at once? Boys and girls and every other should have the right to decide which joyful meal they prefer? Girl, boy at the rescue? What? I'm so confused. Is girl boy like a lady boy, like from Thailand or something? I'll shut up now. What do you mean joyful meal? I'm so confused. Are you referring to like fast food and how they have some toys for boys and some toys for girls? Because what? Because you can control which one you get. When I used to get those, I used to choose. They wouldn't stop you because of your gender. They ask you which one you want. It's just marketed this way because most girls do choose the girly ones and most boys choose the boy ones, but they're not stopping you. Have you ever been outside? Even if LGBTI? What's I? People can work together towards the same goals using the LGBT or LGBTI acronym when you actually mean gay or gay and lesbian is invisibilizing for bi, trans, and intersex people, so be careful when you use the LGBTI acronym. But if people just use the words gay and lesbian, then you'll say that's not inclusive either. What the fuck am I supposed to use? I find these comics highly unrelatable. They're awful. That's weird. It's almost as though you weren't in the target audience. Here's the thing. If it's just like a random thing, like I don't like Five Nights at Freddy's. And because I'm also interested in games and horror, it's in those communities quite a bit because it does overlap and it's very big with mostly little kids. So it's gonna annoy me a tiny bit, but at the end of the day, no one is trying to portray me in a specific way within that medium. So what I'm trying to say here is they're not gonna make a Five Nights at Freddy's where there's suddenly this person who bursts in and who says that they represent everyone who doesn't like the game and then suddenly starts saying stuff about them like they have an STD and stuff like that. So it'll basically imply that everyone who doesn't like them is that specific way with those specific problems. So that's why it's different here, because it's not targeting me, it's just something that I don't like that I scroll past and I don't really give a fuck. But with this, It's directly targeting you, it's pointing at you and saying, hey, I portrayed you in this as a horrible person because I see you that way. And then everyone else who reads this comic and enjoys it is going to see you that way as well. So then you go, hang on, represent me properly or don't represent me. I see this character that is trying to portray me and making arguments that I would not make, and I'm trying to straighten that out by saying, no, that is not what I believe, that is not what a lot of people believe when they criticize you. That is the main difference here. And anyway, even if they're not the target audience, then everything you're saying about trying to educate people basically goes out the window because you're just talking to people who already know what you're saying. You're not engaging with anyone else. What's the point in putting this on a public platform if the only people that it's there for are very specific types of people? I put these videos up so that anyone can find them. I don't ban anyone in my comments. I don't do any of that because I don't care who watches this. This is for all of you, whether you like it or dislike it, and I hope that you are enjoying this so far, but even if you're not, that's fine. It's a public platform, feel free to watch, feel free to do whatever. If I really wanted it for specific people, then I would have tried to put it behind a paywall or something, and I don't want to do that. Okay, the first thing I want to point out here is there is no distinct line between those two different speech bubbles there. See what I mean? In the first panel, Steffi is talking, and then in the next panel that other guy is talking, but it looks like the same thought bubble. That is terrible design. That just looks really fucking terrible. It's probably harder for non-binary people to feel like they belong to a group or another, seeing how few representations there are of the people out of the binary. That was terribly worded. I know this might sound weird, and don't worry about not answering, but how did you know you were a girl? I knew I was a girl when strangers used she when addressing to me. It always made me so happy, and I wanted to be happy forever. I like they as my pronoun. I feel validated and taken as a whole when people use it. Then let it be. So is that it? Just a pronoun? Is anything else about being female appealing, or is it just a pronoun? If it's just a pronoun, then I don't think that makes you trans. Don't get me wrong, if people want to do whatever they want in their little group of friends, and they want to use these pronouns in their group of friends, I'm fine with that. Just don't try and force that shit on me, and incorporate other things that have nothing to do with it, and just lie about it. That's what pisses me off. And how does... I just don't understand how this kid has all these questions that kind of sounds like he's never confronted this before, and then all of a sudden it's like, I like they, and who the fuck called you they? Is it that hard to tell what you are? Do you dress that badly? Whatever. Even though most girls have a vulva and most boys have a penis, studies found that it's not the case for all of them, so please cut the cis-sexist bullshit. Where are the studies? Tell me the studies first, let me read them, let me read the evidence that is counter to that, let me measure up which one's better and which one's got more that makes sense about it, which one's got more evidence. Then maybe we can talk. Don't just throw this shit at me. So you were born from two daddies? That's so cool. I just love how there is a mechanism in nature that produces the succession of generations, and that heterosexuality has nothing to do with it. Oh, and I think you have a gift for the patriarchy. Is this implying that a baby doesn't require a man and a woman? And I don't mean in like a test tube baby kind of way, I just mean biologically. Is this seriously saying that biologically two guys or two girls can make a baby just on their own? Like there isn't fucking science involved. There isn't just... Oh my fucking god, what is happening? Genders other than male or female don't exist, they're made up. True. Actually, I'm non-binary and I exist. What? Curses, you got me this time, but I'll come back stronger. You may exist and you call yourself non-binary, but you're not. Just because you call yourself that, it doesn't mean that that's what it actually is. No one's saying that you don't exist, it's just that you're just not seeing reality. See what I mean about the portrayal of people in these comics? This guy is just so fucking dumb. Whenever I've seen this conversation happen, it's just been, well, I'm non-binary and I exist, and it's not saying that you don't exist, it's just that you're just having a misguided view on what biology and gender actually is. And besides, these look like kids, these look like 12-year-olds, how the fuck do you know you're 12? When I was 12, I still wanted to be a dragon. So I sent your camp registration, Virgil, you're going to... that this summer. Yay! And Sandrix. Have you decided if you want to register as a boy or as a girl yet? No. I know this is hard, but we don't have a choice. I'll be in Portugal for a month and you don't want to go to your grandparents' house either. I don't want to go to camp. I hated it last year. Wouldn't it be easier if you go as a girl? Sure, and spend summer without any sleep because I'll be so anxious performing to a gender I don't have. Sounds fun. You don't have to do that. No one gives a fuck. I'm a girl and I wear boys' clothes sometimes because they're just more comfortable. Or if it's like a band t-shirt that I just found at the store. And I have a Paramore shirt that's a guy's shirt. It just says Paramore on it. No one gives a single fuck. No one even looks at me. No one gives a shit. I don't look like I'm conforming to anything. I don't give a fuck. No one else does. Just pick a fucking gender or go stay with grandparents. Suck it up, kid. Trans girls only transition so they can access women-only spaces and prey on girls. The only time that I really hear that argument outside of just assholes when it comes to just saying that you're a different gender. Some people can just say that they're a different gender and walk in and that goes for boys as well. I always see this argument like they're preying on little girls and no one really makes the argument that there are women predators that exist. There are women who prey on young boys, and that's just one of the things where we see men as the perpetrators and we need to really look at that. What? No, gay men with internalized homophobia tricking straight men into dating them. Okay, someone's gonna have to give me a primer on what this means because I don't know. You're all wrong, they're perverts getting aroused by wearing women's clothes. Okay, if somebody wants to cross-dress, I have no problem with that. They can do that. If somebody says that it's weird, sure, whatever. But I don't really give a fuck. What if I told you that femininity wasn't inherently sexual? What? Humans are inherently sexual. It's part of our fucking biology. It's how we fucking reproduce. Femininity and masculinity are things that people are attracted to. It is inherently sexual. What the fuck are you on about? Oh, but we're not done yet, ladies and gentlemen. We are not done yet. To finish off this lovely video, I am going to read some quotes from Steffi, who is 11, remember, who talks like a fucking robot, just for fun. Everybody keeps saying that I was born in the wrong body. My body is not wrong. What's wrong is what people say about it. It's assumptions they make when they learn that I have a penis. Everyone seems so preoccupied with my genitals. The government in the first place. They forget what I'm going through as a human being. So you want to compensate for your insecurity regarding your masculinity and parenting by denying my identity. I wasn't born a boy just as much as I didn't become a girl. It's just that nobody asked me first. Come on, Sandro. I thought it was Sandrix. Clearly does not follow the hegemonic masculinity model and you just misgendered him, isn't he a they? Ah, fuck you, Steffi. And he wouldn't impose his domination on us. For all we know, we're experiencing a similar oppression due to sexism. Citation, please. I know, it sounds like common sense. You don't even need to be a boy or a girl. You don't feel like, if you don't feel like it. My brain is busy undoing beliefs that are forced into it about the relationship between heterosexuality and reproduction. Is that an effect of heterosexism, Mom? Wait, so she is actually saying that a man and a woman, like a heterosexual couple, isn't the only couple that can produce a child. So she is literally saying that just a man and a man can get pregnant. Like, what the fuck? I science every day. Right, so that was a complete pain in the ass, and I probably rambled about that for way too long. So I'm just gonna go into VidMe for now. I've enabled everything on that, and I'm gonna get verification done just so I have everything. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be using all of those features. Feel free to just follow me. You don't have to look at any of the monetization shit or anything like that. I'm not expecting that at all. Especially now since I'm just trying to work around using the platform and things. Like with Minds, I'm just still having problems using it because I stopped using it for ages because it just wouldn't work for me. Because of technical issues, it's still very janky and things like that. It just needs some work because it is a new thing. And that's all it is. I am slowly using it. Because the purge is in full force here, I don't know when you would wake up and just not find my channel or anything like that, so that's why I'm asking you to go over there. And once I get all of my videos up there, it probably would get to a point where I would just upload there first, just in case, as a kind of incentive, I suppose. Don't worry about any of the, like, subscribe or anything like that on that thing, just go follow it. Just in case, because I would probably put a video up there if I just got banned from YouTube because of my content. And I think a lot of other creators are doing that as well, so you'd find all of them there, like Computing Forever is there, and Suit Yourself and all those other people, so yeah. I'm gonna go bang my head against the wall.